Not-for-Profit Law presents Managing Volunteers.
Hi, I'm Raj. I'm a youth worker coordinator at the Eastern Youth Centre. One of the programs we run is a youth mentoring program, where we link up vulnerable kids in our region with mentors in a buddy system so that the kids have someone to help them with their homework and to talk about issues they're going through. The program's going really well, and we have so many committed volunteers that are doing great work. We've suggested that the mentors visit their buddies in their homes or somewhere nearby, like a library or park, but I'm concerned whether we are doing enough to manage the risks raised by the program. I heard last week that one of our mentors has been taking his students surfing on the coast. This is great, but it also makes me concerned. What if the boy gets injured surfing? Or what if they are in an accident when they are driving to the coast? Is our organisation legally responsible for these kind of accidents? Do we have to step in and stop this?
You're absolutely right that this raises some risks for your organisation. It's fantastic that you have found volunteer mentors that are so enthusiastic, but it also sounds like you need to manage the risks that are being raised. Your mentors are volunteers, and, in general, the law says that community organisations can be liable, that is, legally responsible, for the actions of your volunteers. So it's important to have a well-run, legally compliant volunteer program. Having strong volunteer induction processes, including undertaking appropriate background checks, with ongoing reminders about the policies in place, is a good way to manage risks. It's always good to make sure you give your volunteers a volunteer agreement and role description, so they have a clear idea of the boundaries of their role and responsibilities as a volunteer. You could tell your volunteers that under the law they are protected from civil liability only if they are acting in line with your community organisation's instructions. So it's a good idea that they stick to the tasks within the role description, like helping with homework and conversations about their future, rather than surfing. Insurance that covers your organisation, the volunteer mentors, as well as the youth clients, is important as well. A lot of organisations have public liability insurance. However, often this won't cover your volunteers. It's worth checking with your insurer whether you have the right coverage for volunteers. There is another type of insurance called Volunteers Personal Accident Insurance that your organisation might want to investigate. Other risk management strategies, such as having policies about whether mentors can take their students in their cars and requiring volunteers to have comprehensive car insurance, are also useful for managing risks.
Thanks, Jess. I also have a question about student placements. We sometimes have social work students come and do placements with us for free. We've heard that there is a risk we could be considered to be employing these students, even though they are offering to work for free. Could you please explain this to me?
Sure, this can be a tricky area to navigate. When you have volunteers doing work that would otherwise be done by a paid worker, there can be a risk that employment law considers this person is actually an employee and should be being paid. The Fair Work Act addresses issues relating to unpaid workers. There are a few ways to manage this risk. If your students are doing their placement as part of an approved course, like a university program, this should mean their placement with you is fine, because it's known as a vocational placement, which is an exception to the definition of employee under the Fair Work Act. You should check with the institution that the student comes from to see whether their insurance is covering the student. However, you may also be approached by students who want to do work experience but not be part of an approved vocational placement program. In this case, you should make sure that their volunteering does not cross into an employment situation. You should make sure that the student is getting a benefit from their volunteering, such as new skills, and that there is appropriate supervision of the student. There are other kinds of unpaid work, such as work for the dole, that can cause confusion too. You can read more about how to manage unpaid workers and many other volunteering law issues on the Information Hub Volunteers page.
This video is legal information only and is not legal advice.
This video series is brought to you by Justice Connect's Not-for-Profit Law Service.